Fireworks in a Jar, Demonstration for Science by Lindsay Haraberta. This demonstration is for a grade 2 science class. It focuses on the strand, understanding matter and energy, properties of liquid and solids. The curriculum connections focus on number 2, developing investigation and communication skills, located on page 64 of the science curriculum document. 2.1, follow established safety procedures during science and technology investigations. 2.3, investigate through experimentation interactions that occur as a result of mixing and/or dissolving liquids and solids, and solids and solids. 2.7, use a variety of forms to communicate with different audiences and for a variety of purposes. Number 3, understanding basic concepts. 3.2, describe properties of liquids and solids. The learning goals of this demonstration include: students will be able to follow steps and safety procedures to complete an experiment. Students will be able to observe the properties of liquids by experimenting with interactions of oil and water. Students will be able to record observations about the properties of liquids in written form, and students will be able to respond and reflect on the properties of liquid in a thoughtful way. For this demonstration, students will need water, cooking oil, food coloring, preferably yellow, red, and blue, a clear container. A mason jar works great for this, but a tall cup or vase will do, a small bowl for mixing, and a fork, which can be optional. Safety procedures. It is very important that students know to not eat the food coloring, oil, or water. With this, it's important to keep hands away from eyes and mouth. Students may opt to wear an apron or a shirt that can get messy. And with this, you'll need to have a cloth ready for spills. It's also very important to use caution with the glass jar. If the jar falls, the glass can break, so do not clean up broken jars and glass on their own. If a jar breaks, students need to know to step away from it and to call on a teacher immediately. Now the fun part, steps for the experiment. First, you'll want to gather all of the materials. Second, you'll fill the mason jar 3/4 of the way full with water. Third, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of oil to a small bowl. Then you'll add drops of the food coloring to the oil. 5 to 10 drops of each color will do. At this point, it's optional to use a fork to break up these drops. 6, you'll pour the oil into the water and watch the firework display begin. Here is a fun video to see what this would look like.
Here's a simple science experiment you can do in your kitchen. All you need is water, cooking oil, and food coloring. Explain to your kiddo that this is all about density. Food coloring is heavier than oil, and as it sinks into the water, it creates little, beautiful explosions of color.
Even though this video talks about density, it's evident that the reaction of water and oil is displayed, and it adds a little bit about the properties, which is a great way to expand on teaching curriculum points. So, reflection points. The first one is, let's look at how did the water and oil interact with each other in the experiment? Did they mix together or did they separate? Second, what happened to the food coloring? Did it float or sink? What does this tell you about the weight of food coloring, oil, and water? These can be added to reflections in their experiment booklet. With that, connections to future learning, you could continue with this experiment next class by adding sand and salt to your jar of water and oil. This will allow for further research and experimentation with the interactions and properties of liquids and solids. With that, you could record these in your experiment booklet so students can continue to build on these understandings. And that's all.